You wake up because somebody is shining a flashlight directly into your eyes. Not a soft light. A sharp, white beam burning through the darkness of your bedroom. At first, your brain can't even process what you're looking at. You think maybe you're dreaming. Then the light moves slightly, and you realize there's a man standing beside your bed. Black ski mask, knife in one hand, gun in the other. Completely silent. Your husband is sleeping next to you. Your children are down the hallway. And the stranger calmly whispers, "If you move, I'll kill you." Now imagine surviving that night. Imagine somehow rebuilding your life afterward, trying to convince yourself the nightmare is over, only to answer your phone years later and hear breathing on the other end. Then a whisper. Remember when we played? Tonight, we are going to talk about the Golden State Killer. Welcome to the podcast you can't unhear. California in the 1970s already felt restless somehow. Suburbs were expanding fast. New neighborhoods appearing everywhere. One-story homes lined up quietly beneath yellow streetlights. Sliding glass doors. Unlocked windows. People still believed suburbia was safe back then, especially at night. And honestly, that's part of why this case terrified people so deeply. Because the attacks didn't happen in dark alleys. They happened inside ordinary homes. Quiet bedrooms. Family houses. Places where people thought they were safe. Before California knew him as the East Area Rapist, or the original Night Stalker, or eventually the Golden State Killer, he was just Joseph James DeAngelo. Born in 1945 in Bath, New York. Military father. Waitress mother. Fairly ordinary childhood from the outside. At least, ordinary enough. But sometimes, when you look closely at certain killers, there's this feeling that anger entered their lives very early and never fully left. Investigators later found something called the homework evidence, connected to one of the crime scenes. A handwritten page, almost like a journal entry. Reading it feels strange because it sounds less like a monster and more like someone trapped emotionally in childhood. Mad is the word, he wrote. He talked about 6th grade. A teacher humiliating him, making him write sentences over and over as punishment. I hated him, he wrote. I cried because I was ashamed. Now maybe it was fake. Maybe it was planted to manipulate investigators. But whether true or false, the emotion underneath it feels real. Humiliation. Shame. Resentment that never stopped growing. Joseph eventually moved to California, went to college, studied criminal justice, joined the Navy, served in Vietnam. And from the outside, his life kept looking normal. That's the eerie thing about him. Nothing about Joseph DeAngelo screamed future serial killer. He had relationships, friends, dreams. At one point, he was engaged to a woman named Bonnie. And when she ended the relationship, something inside him seemed to rot permanently. Because years later, victims would hear him whispering during attacks, "I hate you, Bonnie." Over and over and over again. Imagine lying frozen in the dark hearing that, not understanding who Bonnie is, not understanding why this stranger sounds heartbroken while destroying your life. That's what made D'Angelo feel so psychologically disturbing. His attacks felt deeply personal, even when victims were chosen randomly. In 1973, he married a woman named Sharon Huddle. 1 year later, he graduated from the police academy. And this is where the story starts feeling almost cruelly ironic, because Joseph James D'Angelo became a police officer, a man secretly developing into one of California's worst predators, was literally learning law enforcement from the inside. How investigations worked, how jurisdictions communicated, how evidence was handled, what police overlooked. And back then, different counties barely shared information at all. D'Angelo understood that weakness perfectly. He would use it for years. The first known crimes started in Visalia in the mid-1970s. Late at night, homes would suddenly feel wrong. Drawers left open. Objects moved slightly. Windows quietly tampered with. People waking up feeling like someone had been standing inside the house watching them sleep. Police called the suspect the Visalia ransacker. At first, he seemed sloppy. Witnesses saw his face. He didn't always wear a mask yet, but over time, he evolved. That's one of the scariest things about D'Angelo. You can literally feel him learning, adapting, refining himself. Like watching a predator slowly becoming smarter after every attack. Eventually, he started wearing the black ski mask. And once the mask appeared, the real nightmare began. Because suddenly, he wasn't just burglarizing homes anymore. Now he was entering bedrooms, watching people sleep, studying neighborhoods for weeks beforehand. One-story homes, easy escape routes. He sketched maps, learned routines. Sometimes he broke into homes, days before attacking, unlocking windows for later. Imagine discovering afterward that someone had already been inside your house before the night they attacked you. That detail genuinely makes my skin crawl. Then came the rapes. The atmosphere surrounding these attacks feels suffocating, even decades later. Quiet suburban streets, dogs barking in the distance, a sliding glass door barely opening, then footsteps inside the hallway. Victims described waking up to flashlight beams sweeping across the room. Sometimes he whispered their names, which made them believe he personally knew them, but he didn't. He found their names by searching through purses and wallets after breaking in earlier. Everything was manipulation. Psychological warfare. If he saw a boat outside your house, he'd whisper, "I saw you at the lake." He wanted victims to believe they had been specifically chosen, hunted personally. That kind of fear lasts forever. Because randomness is terrifying, but personal obsession is even worse. Then his violence escalated again. He started targeting couples. And this part of the story feels especially horrifying because of how calculated it was. He came prepared with shoelaces already tied into restraints. He forced husbands onto their stomachs, then stacked dishes on their backs. Plates, bowls, anything fragile. And he whispered, "If I hear these fall, I'll kill her." So husbands lay there completely frozen, hearing everything, unable to move, unable to help. And honestly, I think the psychological cruelty mattered to him just as much as the physical violence. Fear itself was part of the attack. maybe even the main part. One survivor described lying motionless afterward, believing he had already left. Her daughter was beside her in bed. The mother whispered, "Are you okay?" And the little girl whispered back, "Shh, Mummy," because he was still standing in the darkness, watching them. That image genuinely feels like pure nightmare fuel. A dark room, everyone pretending to sleep, while somewhere nearby, someone is silently breathing. For years, California lived like this. People buying guns, installing locks, sleeping with dogs beside their beds. Town hall meetings filled with terrified residents. And one night, during one of those meetings, a man stood up and mocked the idea that any husband would allow something like this to happen while home. A few months later, that same man and his wife became victims that detail haunted investigators for years, because it meant the killer may have been inside the meeting, listening, enjoying the fear, blending quietly into the crowd. The devil hiding in suburbia. Meanwhile, Joseph DeAngelo's own life kept moving normally on the surface. He worked as a mechanic, raised children, went home every evening, but neighbors described him as explosive, violent, always screaming, sometimes standing alone outside yelling at nobody. "I'll kill you," he shouted once, even though no one else was there. It feels like the mask slowly started slipping as he aged. Like all the rage he buried for decades kept leaking out in fragments. Then suddenly, in 1986, the attacks stopped. No explanation. No arrest. Nothing. Just silence. That silence probably terrified people almost as much as the crimes themselves, because somewhere out there, he was still alive, still free, still watching the world move on without punishment. For decades, the case became California folklore, a ghost story people couldn't forget. Victims kept receiving disturbing phone calls years later. "Remember when we played?" Imagine hearing that after finally convincing yourself you survived. Then came Michelle McNamara. And honestly, this part of the story feels almost melancholic, because Michelle wasn't a police officer. Not FBI. Not a detective. Just a writer completely consumed by this case. She started researching obsessively, connecting crimes across counties, interviewing detectives, reading thousands of pages of reports, and she gave the killer a new name. The Golden State Killer. That's the name the world remembers now. Not Ear. Not original Night Stalker. The Golden State Killer. She wanted the world to stop forgetting the victims. And tragically, Michelle died suddenly in her sleep in 2016 before the case was solved. But before she died, she told her husband the one thing she truly wanted was for the killer to finally get caught, even if she never saw it happen herself. Then DNA technology changed everything. Paul Holes, an investigator who spent decades chasing the case, uploaded crime scene DNA into a genealogy database in 2018. And slowly, through distant relatives, family trees, old records, the impossible finally narrowed into one name: Joseph James DeAngelo. Imagine being 72 years old, thinking you escaped justice forever, living quietly with your family, watching television, making dinner, when suddenly police cars flood your street. Investigators later said when they arrested him, they could see him calculating escape routes in real time. Still thinking like a predator. Still trying to survive. But this time, there was nowhere left to run. His first words after arrest almost feel surreal. There's a roast in the oven. That's it. Not denial. Not panic. Just a roast in the oven. Like he had mentally prepared for this moment years ago. Today, many survivors still live with PTSD. Some never slept properly again. Some kept weapons beside their beds for decades. Some still panic hearing footsteps at night. That's the part people forget about serial killers sometimes. The violence ends, but the fear keeps living inside survivors long afterward. The Golden State Killer wasn't just a murderer. He turned ordinary homes into places people no longer trusted. Bedrooms, hallways, windows at night. He poisoned the feeling of safety itself. And maybe that's why this case still lingers so heavily. Because deep down, everyone wants to believe evil looks obvious. But Joseph DeAngelo looked like a neighbor, a mechanic, a father, a tired old man walking his dog down suburban streets. And for 44 years, that was enough to hide him completely. Lock your doors tonight, guys. And I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.